It's the best Kiwi event in New Zealand, this.
Crossing New Zealand in 1 or 2 days.
Why do I do it? Because I love it.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, welcome back to the Kathmandu Coast to Coast podcast, Series 4, Episode 4. Richard Greer on my right here, Angus Petrie here. Rich, welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We look really big on the screen today. Is that a thing?
Mate, look, apologies for our tardiness. We've had some technical issues and we've just had to boot. But luckily, none of us are an IT person, but we've managed to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's looking forward to the podcast today. We're going to have a slight adjustment today. Keith Reilly wasn't able to make it. He's been out paddling and all sorts on the West Coast. It was currently sitting in Greymouth and just wasn't working. So we look forward to changing things up a little bit, and we'll definitely make sure that we get him in the next round.
Well, of course, as you know, the Kathmandu Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by Team CP, your endurance coaching specialists. The podcast, mate, that's designed to help everybody get from the start line to the finish line as easy as they can. Of course, by running, biking and kayaking from the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand all the way across to the east coast. We're gonna run off the beach. We're going to ride some bikes. We're going to run over the famous Goat Pass, paddle down the Waimakariri River. And then we're not going to fall over in the finish chute when we get off our bike, Richard, are we?
I've heard that can happen, actually. There's so many different things that can happen. That's another tick. Definitely don't do that. Probably won't do it again.
Mate, how many weeks out are we?
We are like 3 and a bit sort of thing. So 3 weekends away, and you could almost call it 4.
So I should be tapering now.
Depends on how much training you've done. Have you done any training?
Oh, so you got to start to train. Oh, you got to train before you can tape. Okay, good tip. Tip number 1.
Tip number 1. So that's what we're all about today, actually making it to the start line. So if you've done no training like yourself, Angus, we need to manage that. Do you do any training, or is that just going to be bad for you? Will you go backwards? If you've been training lots, do we need to, how much do we need to do to make sure that we still get there in one piece? And then I guess if you are getting over the coast mountain run and down the river and things, every time you turn up to that sort of stuff, it gets more and more risky. How much cotton wool do you wrap yourself in? So that's some of the things we're going to be trying to talk today about.
Well, I've done no training, but I say, get me a ticket. I bet I can get to the end. What's that? Oh, sorry. I've got another job to do for the weekend. Oh, mate, sorry. That was so close. That was so close, wasn't it?
I was just about signing up there. That would have been very good. Anyway, so we have got Sam Manson. We're going to have a good chat to him. So Sam is one of our top contenders. He's for the longest day fieldies. One of the really interesting things actually for the 2023 is that none of the men's field have won the event before. And Sam has been there or thereabouts on a number of occasions, and he's been an elite athlete for a number of years as well. So that's going to be really interesting to see how he goes and how that elite men's field looks like. So we're going to have a chat to Sam, and just in terms of what his sort of mental headspace is and what his preparation looks like, which would be really interesting just to share that with all of us. I can see he's just doing a little bit of stretching in the background, so it's good. He's ready to roll. And we're also going to have a chat to Sophie Beaumont, who we've been following for a good couple of years now, haven't we? Sophie is due to stand on that start line, and she's been simulating the race over this weekend, so it's going to be really good opportunity to see how she's feeling after doing a bike ride, doing the mountain run, paddling the gorge, and then doing another bike ride.
So here's what I reckon. We've been following her for a couple of years, and I reckon there's going to be a few people that are going to end up following her on the weekend.
I think so. I wonder if she's got one of those tracking beacon things.
Oh, I hope so. Right?
Yeah, there we are.
Bloody good. Hey, mate.
She hasn't. Maybe we'll need to.
We'll find that out again. Mate, we've just had Christmas. Let's just touch on that because it's a tricky period in the middle of, I suppose, what is sometimes a key training block, but bloody hard to get through that, not be sidetracked with a bit of Christmas joy and cheer and all those sort of things. How did you go? Did you survive?
I found it's interesting after having done this event a few times around, and you sort of like you on one hand you want to sort of put your feet up, on the other hand you're sort of this niggly feeling about, I feel like I should be doing some training. So it's finding that balance is actually really tricky. So I mean, I don't think we ever quite get it right, but as long as you're able to, I guess, make sure you do a bit of both. And from my perspective now, I feel like, right, let's just get stuck into the race and do a couple of sessions and get into it.
Did you get a new bike for Christmas?
I did get a new bike for Christmas. Yeah,
get out of here.
That? So, fantastic. Just good to roll. And there's nothing better than new bike day, is there?
How good. How good. God, you get
Must
all
have
the...
been on the nice list.
Hey, you and Santa like that, eh?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, shall we, Sam's
Absolutely.
all ready to go.
He's been rip-rearing and
warming up.
Hey, Sam, show us your hands, mate.
Hello. Yeah, hands are here. Yeah, there's a couple of
look at those
blisters from
blisters.
yesterday. Sorry, it's opposite with the camera.
Yep.
Yeah,
How good
bubbles.
is that,
The,
You did a pedal race today, the Waimak Classic, the famous Waimak Classic. You did very well too. Just looked at the results before we come online, and I'm guessing that was just a bit of anger. Is that why you've got blisters? So many blisters?
yeah, I don't get angry when I race.
Really?
No way. No, the blisters are mostly because I actually try to not grip the pedal too tight. That's definitely a theory that I try to adhere to with pedaling technique, but it's mostly because I put strapping tape on my pedal shaft, and that makes it super aggressive. I like it though because it means the pedal is just extra grippy, so that I can have more relaxed hands, which a bit of a trade-off.
Yeah, good stuff. So talk us through that. How'd the Waimak Classic go? How's the river looking from your perspective?
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, like you said, the Waimak Classic was yesterday. It's the same kayak stage as the coast to coast stage, same distance, same bits, and it's really cool to get to race it and against, I guess, other multi-sporters who are all likely going to do coast to coast as well, and you get to see how you're going. Of course, the conditions could be completely different at coast to coast. The river could be higher, the river could be lower, but yesterday the river was relatively low. We had about 50 cubics in it. And we had a bit of a headwind, so it made for relatively slow conditions. But that is what it is, and everyone's dealing with the same thing. So you just get amongst it. The top section always extra low, a few braid choices, but the odd part where you get scratching on the rocks, get a little bit shallow. You could get stuck if you make the bad choice, but thankfully, I've been down a few times with guided trips and. So knew the way, and there's a couple of bigger rapids now. I mean, there's rumors going around about a couple of new rapids on the Waimakariri River. There's two ones that have been talked about, Rock Garden 2, which is about 8 k's in, and Vortiki Migahela, Halfway Hut Rapid.
Just run us through that second name again.
Well, that comes down to the Top Sport guides. Ryan, I'm pretty sure, is the one that came up with the name, but everyone else calls it Halfway Hut River because it helps you to remember where it is, and perhaps Vortiki Migahela is a little bit intimidating. But it is one of the new rapids. We actually portaged it yesterday, mostly because it was just going to be too many people in one spot, and would have put a lot of pressure on the safety team with possibly too many swimmers. So we ended up portaging that rapid yesterday, which just made things a lot smoother. It didn't mean you got to hop out of the boat for a bit, which is fantastic. When you get a sore bum, you get a bit of blood flow back in there, and so it breaks the kayak stage up really well. So those two new rapids are the big chat.
Was there quite a race on when you did the portage part? Like, was there pressure to get in, to get out, or to get out and get back in? Was there a few boats and a few oars and paddles getting thrown around the place?
Totally. I mean, there's only 3 people around me, or 2 guys that I really noticed, but I know that the others went too far away. So when I portaged, Sam Newlands, the guy who ended up winning the race, was right with me, and he surged past me to get to the portage first. Not that it really mattered because there was plenty of space for me to pull up on the beach. So he jumped out of his boat first. I jumped out next to him. And I pedal in running shoes. I'm a big fan of pedaling in running shoes. I think it makes sense. It means that if you do fall out or you ever come out of your boat in the gorge, it's really easy to walk around on the rocks, whether that's, in the sharp stuff or just up on the beaches. Anyway, so it made it really easy for me to, jog along the rocks. It was a little bit windy, so hard to hold a boat in the wind. But I got into the water before Sam, so obviously the running shoes worked well. But Lockie Brownlee, who was a little bit further back, he actually almost beat me to the water, so he must have gained quite a bit of time in the portage. I think he must have sprinted. So there's definitely a few people running around and trying to make the most of the portage, and some people are better at portaging and actually able to make up a lot of time, because making up a lot of time on the river is actually pretty hard. When you get someone in front of you, maybe just 3 or 4 boat lengths ahead, it can require a lot of energy to catch them, even though they don't look very far away. It's just the nature of downriver racing. It's just that you're on that conveyor belt of water. It is hard to gain time on someone who looks like they're not that far away. So if you're good at portaging, you could gain quite a bit of time.
Nice. So how did you finish off? How was going head to head? You're only second by like 3 seconds. How did that last little piece go? You must have been putting some big effort in towards the end just to get to that finish line.
Yeah, I would. I mean, yeah,
It's a tough section too, isn't it?
relatively, definitely. Like, I mean, obviously, couldn't have gone any harder. That's why I got second, because Sam was just going that little bit faster. He was with me, pretty much the whole race. I got away a little bit before the gorge. I decided I'd mix things up and actually put in a breakaway early on. It was about 20 k's in that I surged away, and it actually worked really well. But I was cooked straight away, so it didn't work that well. And so he caught back up again within about 10k, and we pedaled together, all the way to the finish line. With about 5k to go, he surged in front of me, which I was actually okay with, because I thought I'll just let him nose rudder for a bit, get a bit of draft, get a bit of a break. But then I couldn't get back in front of him again, because every time I tried to come up to get past him, he just put another hard surge in, and I couldn't match it. Just wasn't feeling good enough yesterday. And then, of course, once it came to the finish line, he put down another surge and just hanging on. Yeah, couldn't stay in front. So yeah, basically, that's why it was 3 seconds different at the end. But Ryan Kisnowski had an incredible pedal too. He was only 30 seconds back, and so Ryan Kisnowski, he's a regular top 5 athlete in the one-day event at Coast to Coast, and so cool for him to be pedaling so well, and a bit worrying as well. He's a bit of a threat at Coast to Coast.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, like you've, I guess it sums up your summer that you've had, haven't you? Like you've raced lots this summer. You've done the Tour of Southland, Motu Challenge. There's lots of different events you've done. That must help I don't know, just the nerves of standing on the start line stuff. You've just done that lots. You've just put yourself out there. There's no hiding away, is there? That must help sort of you lining up for Coast to Coast.
Definitely. It's different in some ways. Like Motu Challenge back in October, I've never actually managed to do well at that race, and had a really good race last year, so that was cool. So you come into it with a different perspective when it's a race that you maybe not do so well so often in. Tour of Southland, come into like super scared because I've never done anything like that before, and it was well out of my depth. Whereas Coast to Coast, I've done lots of times, and I've actually done reasonably well in it most times. Relatively. Last year's race didn't actually go well for me, but if I put them all together, that I'd probably say last year's the only year that I've actually could say I've trained really well for it and not had a good race. So that does mean that I'm coming in this year being like, oh, okay, it is possible for me to not to piece it all together. But still, you think about it differently, because it's a race that I've done so many times, and build confidence from some of these events that I've done recently. But I still got to have that open mind and get the mindset in the right place.
So you roll up at the Kathmandu Coast to Coast this year with the number 1 on the bib. How does that change things? Does it have any effect on you? It's just a bib, I've just got to wear it because that's what the bloody organisers tell me I've got to wear, or is there some pressure that comes with that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I didn't actually know I had a number 1 bib, but I guess that makes sense since Dougal's not doing it, and respectively they give it to what they think the seeding might be based on previous results. Although I guess Ryan Kisnowski did beat me last year, so they could have given it to him. I guess pressure. You might feel a little bit of pressure on it. It's not the first time I've been given number 1 bib, which is cool. One time I got given it just because I went to an Australia race, and I think it was out of respect they gave it to me. And that was wild because there was no way I was going to come anywhere near first in that race. I just got a couple of photos with it on, and that was all it was all about.
Yeah, fantastic. Good for you.
But this year, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really know I had the number 1 bib, and I never really had a chance to think about it. I have known, with Dougal not turning up, that there, of course, is an increased chance that I can get on the top step and win the race, but so that probably bothers me a bit more, knowing that, rather than just the visual of wearing the number 1 bib, knowing that the chance of me winning the race is higher than ever. But that means I've still got to get so many things right on the day. It's not going to be as simple as just turning up and doing what I always do. Well, I suppose it is in some ways. just not the same as what I did last year.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of mental stuff, and there's a lot of equipment involved. There's a lot of stuff going on during the day. There's lots that could go wrong. So I've just got to make sure that I've got all my ducks in a row, my mindset in the right spot, and also not muck up the next couple of weeks, as I think you guys touched on. Talking about.
Yeah, let's have a chat about that, because that's what this podcast is about. Like, how do you actually do these next few weeks? What does your training look like from now on in? Obviously, you don't want to sort of share to everybody because there could be so many competitors out there. But as best as you possibly can, what do things look like? Are you tapering now? Are you sort of full gas into training? What happens?
Yeah, there's no secrets other than I'm just going to make sure that I am able to feel confident in my fitness level and how I guess the skills as well. So getting out on the course a little bit more, but speed work stuff, making sure I've got that aligned and feeling good, just building my confidence so that I think I'm going to have a good race as well as want to. So those sort of things, and not overestimating things as well when it comes to sessions. So like you've mentioned, it's only 3.5 under 4 weeks to go. So there's only so much you can achieve in that amount of time. So I'm still human. As in, I've got same rules apply to me as any other person doing this race, no matter how new they are to the sport, is that I can't be going and doing things that I haven't actually got the ability to at the moment. There's only so much time left to develop my body, and there's actually not really much time at all. So I can't be going out and doing speeds that I actually are way too above what I'm capable of doing. I've still got to embed and lock in the sessions and the power and the speed that I have worked on over the last couple of months, and make sure those are solid for race day, rather than trying to gain too much new stuff in the next couple of weeks. It's common. You start panic training. You start trying to shit, I'm not fast enough. I've got to do more of this, and you end up doing way too much of it, and you wear yourself out. So just got to be careful with that.
Yeah, it's not like a school exam, is it? where the day before you can take some notes and cram some stuff in. What are some of your key sessions between now and then and D-Day? Where are the key the Sam's 3 key sessions, I suppose?
Technical stuff. So just definitely getting on the rock stool, whether that's scope past itself or just anywhere on the rocks, even just off-road running. I haven't done a heap of that. I'm actually quite big on just running from the house and just whatever's closest to me, just getting more frequency, more runs in. And that doesn't always mean technical. So for me, I just want to get a little bit more technical stuff. Same with the river. Get on the river a little bit more, but in my race boat, because most times I've been getting on the river lately have just been for work. And to be honest, I actually haven't done a hell of a lot of kayaking in the last few months. And then, so just technical time in the boat. I actually felt really tippy yesterday in my race boat. So I'd like to try to eradicate that a little bit, just spending a bit more time on the river in my race boat. And so that's the technical side of things. Then it's just speed work. So just spending some more time at my race intensity, just so that makes, for me, if I ever cramp, it's usually in a race. It's because I've raced at an intensity that I haven't done enough in training. So I've got to make sure that I'm spending a bit more time at my race pace, a few more intervals, not of course too many still, but just enough times, maybe 2 or 3 times a week at race intensity, especially on the legs, just to make sure they're prepared for that race speed. Because I'm huge on the zone 2, doing lots of easy training, but this time of the year I'm starting to do a little bit more race specific intensity, just to really make sure I'm ready for that. And like I said before, I'm not going too far above that or I risk burning myself out.
Do you see it as a risk now, getting out into that technical stuff, getting back on the rocks and things? Do you think about that when you're on those rocks? Like, shit, I could twist an ankle here now. We're only a few weeks out. Am I actually better not to be here? Or
I mean, that's the first step in not rolling your ankle, is thinking about it. I think I've rolled my ankle more often when I'm enjoying myself too much and on the trails and not thinking about the consequences of something like that. That happened a year ago. Yeah, almost exactly a year ago, before last Coast to Coast. Had the most awesome trail run I'd had all season. Was feeling super fit, like I was floating above the trail, and then on a downhill section just crank straight over, and it was pretty bad. I had to walk very slowly or crawl home. I was well on the top of the Port Hills, so it was a slow walk back down the hill. Anyway, that wasn't very much fun. So yeah, you're right. It's totally possible. You can roll an ankle. You could go off your bike. So you're just doing what you know best to prevent that from happening. Where possible, but accidents happen.
Aside from wrapping yourself in cotton wool, what are 2 or 3 things that you do to decrease the chance of that? Because you can't not do it. You've got to, as you say, like you've got to do some of that technical stuff. Is there anything that you do in the background to help you with that?
I mean, it's knowing your limits. Like that sort of stuff I spend all year working on. That's why I do calf raises. That's why I do balance work all year long, so that when it comes to this time of the year, is a way lower chance of me rolling an ankle. I guess this time of the I know that perhaps I'm a little bit more prone at the moment to rolling an ankle because I've done it so frequently in the last 24 months. So I think if I'm going on a really technical run where I'm going to push things a little bit, then I'm probably going to strap my ankle, because that would be the smart thing to do. And if I don't, then I guess that's my own fault. I should have done that. I'm likely going to do a bit of a light strapping for coast to coast, and that's because at coast to coast I'm going to be pushing the limits a little bit. I'm probably going to end up a little bit tired, and probably quite tired, and end up making a couple of mistakes along the way, which means a higher chance of rolling my ankle even during the race itself. So, but if in a training session, usually if I'm taking it easy, the chance will be fairly low, and I'll be sticking to my limits. Like last year's incident, maybe I just got a bit carried away and was going down the hill a bit fast. So perhaps that's the tip really, is just to not get too carried away in a technical section. Same with riding on the road around parked cars. Like if you start daydreaming, if you get to keep your distance away from doors, things like that. So it's just keeping your eye on the ball and not getting distracted.
Yeah, that's
a good tip. Race day, which is hard to do. Easier said than done.
Yeah, it really is. It's a good tip to just button the enthusiasm back sometimes. I do get quite enthusiastic myself. It's when you start flying over handlebars and things like that. So yeah, that's very good. I guess as this whole chat is in terms of talking to you, Sam, we've just got to remember that you are an elite athlete. It's awesome to hear that you're doing this stuff kind of all year. It's not something that you're just sort of picking up now, but that whole balance stuff, if you're a bit worried about that, it's something you can do now, and it will make a difference in the month leading up into race day. So yeah, use that if you need to as well. So have you got any other words of advice? Like you do some coaching work as well, and obviously got a bunch of people that you're working with too. So is there any other advice that you would give people from here on in to race day to make sure that they can have a good race day by standing on the start line in one piece, feeling good, injury free, and ready to roll?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think there's so much advice you could offer. It is to listen to the body, and that's advice I received years ago from Richard Usher, and he's so right. Is listen to the body. You might have planned sessions, perhaps a really important session the next day, but if you're not feeling good, if you're waking up feeling crap, you're just going to have to move it, because if you slaughter yourself through a session that your body just isn't ready for, you've overdone it, whether it's from training or maybe it's just from busy life, back at work. Maybe it's just maybe you did a session the day before and you just got super dehydrated, and you're just paying the repercussions the next day. You got to put it off if that session is just going to make you worse. So it's a really hard call to make, and it's easier said than done as well. Like I'm certainly have done it myself. I was sick last week, and I got really annoyed having 4 or 5 days off training. That it was the moment I got to a level where I thought was suitable to train again, I got back into it and I slammed myself in 4 hours of bike intervals. And to be honest, that was not a good idea. So a little hypocritical from me, but so yeah, easing back into things if you're sick, but also listening to the body and doing sessions when your body's ready for it, and you should have enough signals when you wake up in the morning whether or not you should continue with that session, or maybe you need to postpone it to the afternoon or the next day. But that's, I guess, what your coach is there to help you, advise you off as well.
That's right. That's great advice, isn't it? And also, I think that often we negate that because we're so keyed up and fired up about this event, isn't it? That's great advice, especially since it's top of mind from last week for you, is just think about the big picture and how is this gonna help me or is this gonna hinder me? Is it gonna set me back, or am I gonna sort of build from this? So that's awesome.
Totally.
I can see you actually look a bit tired, Sam.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot going through. Are you excited though? Are you, like, we are bloody close now, and this is a genuine. Every year I'd have said you've been a genuine shot at winning this damn thing, and this year, you are an absolute genuine shot. Are you excited?
Oh, always super excited to race. I love this race. It's a shame it's only once a year. I wish it was, got a few more opportunities to go and do it. So it's just because it's only once a year and there's so much hype now because it's turned into a huge event. It already was, but it's got even bigger now. And so you do feel a sort of an underlying pressure along with all that. Can't wait to race. Just really hope, we get to race the original course because that's the course we love the most. And, get to, and I hope that my body, performs really well on the day because that's all I want. Same with all my competitors. I want all my competitors to have a good day as well. You want to have a good race with everyone racing well and see what happens from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Just walk forward to the challenge and just go and have a good crack. It's exciting to hear that you're excited though. It's good, isn't it? And I'd reiterate that is that it'd be great to be able to race this more often because it is so much fun getting over and racing this course, isn't it? And so I really hope we have a crack at the A course as well.
Yeah, totally. Looking forward to it. We'll see you guys there.
Right. Absolutely. We'll be there with bells on. Mate, thank you very much, Sam. This isn't your first rodeo on our show, and we appreciate your time that you do give us and give everybody else out there, really, as we only do it for the same reason you do, to give to the community. And, mate, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you over in Greymouth before the start, maybe for a couple of wise words then. But from us, best of luck, mate.
Yep. Go well.
Thanks so much, guys.
Well done. Cheers, Sam.
What about you? Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm more
you
and more
bloody
excited.
better be excited.
We missed out last time round, so yeah, I'm excited to go and have a crack at this. Especially like I managed to get over the mountain run and then down the river last 2 days as well. So yeah, just actually managed to. I mean, it was just enjoyable. It's good. Like I think Sam's comment about just keeping a lid on it sometimes is probably sums me up. Sometimes it's just good fun. So yeah, I'm fizzed up.
Well, you don't talk about it very often, and I'm going to make you talk about it because we just, interrogated Sam about the pressure of wearing the number one and being the favorite and all those sort of things. But, you how many times you worn that bridesmaid dress?
It's just about worn out, actually.
It must be. I hope you got a new. I hope you haven't been to buy a new color. But like, mate, you're you are. You're on that list of people that can win the 2-day. You're in there again for the 2-day. You've been hammering at this more times than Sam has, but have had the same outcome for this thing. What's the go? Are we going to win this thing?
Well, I think it's a bit like Sam. You've just got to go and put yourself out there and have a crack and see what happens. Like my job is I'm an old dog. My job is to keep those young bucks honest, isn't it? And then see what happens for that. But yeah, I think that's the thing with this event. There's only moments you can actually race. So you've got to take those moments, but other than that, you've got to manage yourself and look after yourself as you go. So I guess, as Sam mentioned, there's so many things that you've got to look after. That'll be the key thing, and managing yourself and then having a crack. So yeah, I guess that's that whole Christmas thing as well. That's hard to manage as well, like kids, family, all those sorts of things, holidays, and yeah, I guess it's just making sure that I keep a lid on it, not to get too excited.
And you've got, like you say, plenty of years of wisdom under your belt. You'll and that accounts for a fair chunk. Enthusiasm's not all of it, is it?
Well, not many other people have finished and slipped over the finish line, have they? so that's another piece of experience that I can make sure that doesn't happen again. So all those experiences, and that's part of the reason for me for doing it. It's kind of staying current. It's being involved and learning, because every time you put your toe on the start line, there's stuff you learn. So that's a big motivation for me to be involved in it, and then I can help and support others in the same journey.
Well, I'll give you a tip for that. Don't turn up there with somebody else. Be out the front, mate. Get out the front and go. Just don't turn up there with somebody else.
Oh, the finish line. You're talking about.
Sure. And I tell you what, I'm desperate for you to win this thing. I just think it'll be fabulous to see. And I don't want to put any pressure on, but I can see our media budget going through the roof if you can get a win, and we can have a trophy in the background here and things like that. It's got to be good for us.
We could have an actual budget. We'd have to do some planning then. Oh goodness.
Now you've got a little video tip here of a bit of running. We've just been talking technical running with Sam and things like that. Should we just have a quick lash at that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. So maybe the track isn't as defined as it often is, but just look after yourself. Here's CP Media reporting live from the field on a bit of a goat pass. Recce, we're up the Deception River on the lower stretch, is about 6 k's in or so, and I just want to mention the fact that the rivers are super low. Haven't had a whole lot of rain on the west coast, but one thing that this creates, we can just cross anywhere we like, but there's lots of slippery rocks. Those brown ones are so slippery. I think I've fallen over about 5 times so far. So thinking about coast to coast, just take care when you are doing a bit of a mission up here, especially pre-race, that you do just look after yourself and get out at one piece. It does almost make the navigation trickier because you've got options. You can just kind of splash across the river where you want. So maybe the track isn't as defined as it often is, but just look after yourself. Keep an eye on those slippery rocks as you do cross the river, and hopefully we can get to the start line in one piece with a smile on your face. Beautiful day to be out. How about that? Absolute stunner. Look at those mountains in the background. Cheers, team.
Look at you there enjoying the day there.
Yeah, a little bit of me time, a little bit of stuff in the mountains. Yeah, it was interesting actually. But and hey, this every time I go over the mountain run, it's different. So that was Saturday's conditions. The river was super low. It hasn't rained on the west coast for I don't know when. So yeah, I just caned myself a few times. Like, what am I doing? I had to give myself an uppercut just to and just kind of calm down a little bit as you're doing that. So I guess that was just my point, to make sure that you do actually look after yourself at certain times and hopefully make it to the start line.
Cool. Well, somebody else who's been out there adventuring
yes.
and has been getting out to see what it's all about and get themselves race tuned is our very own Sophie Beaumont, who of course we've been, like you said at the start, we've been following for a couple of years, and nobody has probably, well, I don't know if you have more smiles and more passion or whether Sophie does. Look at that. She's already beaming and giggling away there, Richard. You got competition.
She's pretty fizzed up. Maybe we should compare bruises shortly.
Actually, let's do this. Hold your hands up.
Where are we?
Oh.
No. So how many blisters have you got?
I thought I only had one, but actually I can't get the right thing. I've got one there. I just found another one on a thumb somewhere, and I've got one on this thumb. So 3.
Look at that, Sam with his soft hands. He had a whole row of the damn things, and I'm just going to bag him out here a little bit because before we went live, we were chatting there, and you'd said you made comment about the race and said, "Oh well, I've never paddled 70 k's," and he's like, "Well, it's not like we've got to paddle 70 k's. The river carries us a fair chunk of it, like a real straight to the heart dagger, wasn't it?"
It's brutal.
Yeah. But you do have less.
Proud of myself.
That's right, but you do have less blisters, so that's tough. I've just counted up 6 on my hand, so that's a bit prissy as well, isn't it? Need to work on that.
Yeah. So how was, just quickly, because how was your race, the Waimakariri Classic, your first full-time or full paddle of that river? How'd that go?
I don't know if we'd call it a race for me, so much as a useful.
Did you have a number on
the course with some safety out there? I did have a number on.
So then it was a race.
Okay, fine. It was a race, but I wasn't racing. I was just trying to get through in one piece with my boat in one piece this time, which last time we talked, I remember just basically giving you a horror story of, I'd been through the gorge and I'd broken my boat and I'd had a mare on the rock garden. Well, I portaged the rock garden.
Excellent.
Even before they'd said that, it was going to be a recommended portage, I'd already decided I was going to portage the rock garden. And I tell you what, it was absolutely the right call for me, because about 3 k's later, I was having a minor panic attack at the thought of going into the gorge. And luckily, Tanya, who was the guide and safety boat for the novice females, came up alongside me and noticed that I was sort of hyperventilating and the water on my face maybe wasn't only from the river. And she basically took me under her wing, and I followed her the whole way down the gorge, and we chatted heaps. And it took what could have been an absolutely horrifying day, and a day that I was super nervous about, because paddling has not come easily for me. I've It's been a really steep learning curve. I'm not confident on the river. It had all the makings to be a really, really bad day, and it turned into a really, really cool, empowering day. For the first time ever, I paddled the whole thing. So I've paddled 70 Ks, which I don't care what Sam says. I paddled 70 Ks. I took a lot of chicken lines. So, the river doesn't do as much work for me as it probably does for someone like Sam. And I didn't swim at all, probably because I portaged the rock garden and the Vortiki Mega Howler. But yeah, it was awesome. I finished with a massive smile on my face. So yeah.
Brilliant. So good. And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's really good to hear from Sam, and then also you like completely different ends of the spectrum, but just actually having a good experience. It's fantastic. Did you take a picnic? What do we have to eat on the way?
What did I manage to eat? I had a flask full of Tailwind, and I managed a couple of bars. I used the portage actually at Halfway Hut, because that was quite a long portage, and I was going quite fast. Like, I'm probably faster carrying my boat than I am paddling my boat. So I actually caught a few people on each portage, but then waited for them afterwards because I wanted people to paddle with. It was all about safety.
Right.
But I had a wrap, like a cheese and Vegemite wrap, which actually it went down really well.
Gourmet.
Yeah. Well done.
It's a bit stale because I'd made it 2 days earlier before heading over goat. So like it was a bit gross, but it hit the spot.
Fantastic. I really like the fact that you're racing across the rocks and jumping in the boat and waiting for everyone after that. That is so good. Hopefully you let them know that actually I'm first in the boat.
If that doesn't sum up my personality, like racing to get ahead and then going, oh wait, no, I need some company, need some friends.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic.
What they should have had was a timing mat at the start and the finish of the portage, and maybe you might have won the quickest, portage or something.
Yep. Sophie.
Oh, Soph, where are you going?
Are you there, Soph?
Oh, Sophie's having a little internet glitch there.
No,
she could be back. Yes. No.
Sophie. Are we back? How are we
No,
going?
we're here. Yeah. No, unfortunately, Sophie's just dropping out there.
So Sophie did the mountain run the day before in the same way that you do the 2-day coast to coast, the mountain run, then into the kayak. But I'm also shortly interested to hear how she got on with her bike ride beforehand, the mountain run, and then also the bike ride afterwards, and what the motivation levels were like. Sounds like she was probably quite keen to jump into the bike after that paddle.
And did I hear right? She carried that Vegemite sandwich across Goat Pass, or did she just make it the day before? Like, was she proper practicing?
Well, we'll have to find that out. But it's well organised, that's for sure.
I tell you who is still there, and hopefully he's probably scrolling through a reel or two. So we'll just waking back up here. Well, look at that. What are you looking at there on the internet?
You're live, Sam.
Yeah.
You're lucky I'm still here.
I know, right? You're like our fill-in guy, aren't you? I don't know what's happened to Soph. She's dropped out. But when you finished just going back to your Waimakariri Classic, did you carry on riding? Did you stay around? What's the story there for a guy? Have you still got in your training plan on that day, actually, I've got to go, got to keep riding?
I didn't do anything other than the kayak race yesterday. I knew I wasn't planning on it in any way, even if I was feeling great, but I also wasn't feeling great. So that also narrowed things down. Definitely didn't do any more training. No, yesterday, the pedal stage, the 70K kayak race is a long way. As Sophie said, it's a long way. It's a lot of technical rapids, but also the intensity just creates a lot of fatigue. And for me, if I did more stuff, it's going to again create more fatigue, which means for me would have been too much for me to be able to train the next day. I've actually had today off anyway. I had Friday off and I've had today off. I'm not sure how many people at the Waimakariri Classic can say that they had their Friday off before the race as well as today as part of their training plan. But for me, that's what it has had to be at the moment, just because I listen to the body, and for me, I think that's what I need. I think I got a bit of post-viral stuff going on, and I just need to get on top of that.
Nice.
Well, Soph's back, so we're just going to thanks, mate. Thanks for filling in there, Sam. You're a great co-host there, mate. Welcome back, Sophs.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet died.
That's right.
I know the feeling.
So Angus's question was, did that wrap travel with you over the mountain run as well? Or did it sit in the car the day before?
I packed 2. Well, we had planned it quite well. So we had a group of mates went. We had a batch in Arthur's Pass. So we went for a ride, did the run, but we dropped off our boats and a couple of fridge bags with my kayak wrap as part of that. So no, I took 1 wrap over Goat Pass and another one in the kayak.
That was relatively fresh then.
Well, stale, but not soggy.
Yeah, good. So this whole weekend for you was about simulating the race, wasn't it? It was about getting out there and sort of seeing what that felt like. So we're kind of doing it a bit back to front, but how did it feel to jump on your bike and do some bike riding after that paddle?
Yeah, pretty tough actually. That climb off Gorge Bridge, man, like I've done it before and it's never seemed that steep. But then yesterday, it felt like such a haul. It felt like I was climbing hundreds of vertical meters, and it was probably like 30.
Maybe.
So it was pretty tough. It took maybe like 5 or 10 Ks for my legs to kind of hit a bit of a, get that spin going. But once we're on South Air Road, I really enjoyed it. We didn't bike the full 70 back into town. We did about 45. My lower back was really sore, so I might need to see what's going on there. I think I don't know, it might be something in my bike setup or something. So I have to figure that out. But decided to pull the pin at 45. I didn't want to push it too hard. I don't want to do any lasting damage before the race. I've trained for far too long.
Yeah, good stuff. But just good to know that you can do that. Hey, it might be a bit ugly and that hill might look like a mountain, but you know that you can do that now, can't you? So that's a big tick in the box.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good thing to practice doing.
That's right.
And on race day, you're going to have the adrenaline of actually you're at the last stage. You've now only got 70 Ks to go, and then I can have a beer. So it'll be easy. Promise you.
Yeah, she was nodding at that stage for those that are listening. Let's take a step back. So Friday, day before the Waimakariri Classic, you did the mountain run and also did a bike ride beforehand. Again, that whole let's simulate this race, give myself some confidence if I can actually do it. Tell us about that. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was good. So we didn't do the full bike ride beforehand. We didn't have quite enough time. By the time we'd faffed around loading 3 boats and 4 bikes onto the car and everything, we were a bit late leaving Christchurch. So we rode about 25 Ks before heading over Goat Pass. But, that was enough. We rode at a decent clip and there was a bit of a headwind. So that was kind of enough to fatigue my legs a bit. And I definitely felt it the first couple of Ks of the run. Again, it took a few Ks to kind of get my legs used to the idea that, hey, we're actually going running now. But I mean, I love Goat Pass. Like every time I go over there, I just have the best day. And I think every time I do it, I love it more because I know the course better and it's just awesome. And so I had an awesome day out and then I was a little bit stupid coming down. As you guys were saying before, it's so easy to slip in the river. And I did exactly that. The very last crossing of the Minga, I was kind of on target to set a new PB over Goats Pass. I was like, oh yeah, well, I might as well go for it. Let's see if I can do my fastest ever time. And so I'm hooking it across the river. I know, how stupid is this? Like 3.5 weeks out from race day, but I'm like going for it across the Minga and I slipped and absolutely smoked my left leg. Like, I don't even know what I did, but I seem to have rolled my ankle and I've got this huge lump on my shin and my whole leg kind of went dead. And I think my calf cramped because everything else was going on. Anyway, so I'm hobbling, and it gets quite runnable from that point. So I'd been all set.
I have a quick question there. Was there a chance of drowning at that same point? It sounds like it was a whole.
Nah, like I got wet, like my pack was wet because I kind of went over onto my back. I was kind of doing a like turtle stuck on its back thing in the river. But no, I think because the river was low, there was no drowning risk. I thought I'd save that for the classic. But yeah, I was all set to run to Grainies, and then I sort of hobbled instead. Still set a PB for the record, but not quite as big of a PB as I'd planned. So, you win some, you lose some. But no, it was awesome. Had a great day out, and it was cool to test the legs and test all the systems as well. Yeah, and a bit of a race simulation, figure out the food and all the rest.
It sounds like this podcast has come 48 hours too late Has it? Like Sam was just full of, use your head, think about this. Sophie, she's like setting PBs, coming down the thing.
The finish line items.
We should have had
coming
this
into
chat 48 hours ago, probably.
Saying, I've got this.
Oh, you guys know I wouldn't have listened anyway. I mean, you've both tried to give me advice in the past. Have I ever listened to a word?
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's right. Yeah, that's right. So any other key learnings, I guess, from your Goat Pass experience for you?
No, not really for me. I think I always need to eat more. Like every time I go, I'm going to eat more this time. I'm going to eat more. And I always try to eat more. And then I always finish and go, I should have eaten more. So eat more. And, I've been slowly refining what I eat. I've got a pretty sensitive stomach when I'm running, so I'm pretty careful with that. So that's always a big learning for me. And I found a couple of, I don't know if they're like actual shortcuts, but to me, they felt like shortcuts because I wasn't following the dock markers. So yeah, I had a good time testing some of those out. So that was good learning. Yeah.
Nice. That's good. And just for those that are listening to this, the coast to coast mountain run is different from the just general time that you'll go through, because Glenn and the team actually go out and mark the most efficient course. They don't say it's the fastest course, so don't feel like you have to go over and sort of dial the course in exactly because you'll be pointed in the right direction. But yeah, it's nice to have some of those sneaky wee shortcuts that hopefully Glenn won't mark there, Sophie.
Yeah, I'd like to think I might have, both my portaging skills and one more advantage up my sleeve.
And you've got to be careful not to get suckered into what everyone else is doing on race day too, because so often it looks like the person in front of you or the three people in front of you know what they're doing and they're striding away there, but actually they don't even know where they're going, and you follow them and then go, crap, I should have just done my own thing and gone over here.
Well, I made exactly that mistake in the kayak on Saturday and followed the three people in front of me down what looked like quite a nice chute. And we ran out of water and so I actually did an extra portage. In fact, I did 2 extra portages because I did it again down from Woodstock. So yeah, don't just follow. That would be a big learning too.
Well, you've got to do the things that you're good at, aren't you? So as long as you're looking good at the right moments there, Sophie, that's good. So any other sort of piece of advice, any other thing else you want to share? As a sign off, we've got one more podcast to come after this prior to race day, but anything else that's top of mind for you?
I think for me, my big one is that, kayaking, and I know that I won't be alone in this. I think for a lot of us who are first timers or, new to this whole multi-sport thing, the kayaking is really scary. And I have found it a really steep learning curve, but I think, persevering has been really beneficial, and going down the gorge with someone who really knew what they were doing, man, that has just done wonders for my confidence. And anyone else who, like I was feeling a day and a half ago, is panicking a bit about the paddle, if you can get a spot on a guided trip, or if you can find someone who's really experienced to take you down, I cannot emphasize how much of a difference it's made for me. The 24 hours, since then, yeah, it's amazing. So that would be my big one, is don't panic about the kayak. Just find someone who actually knows what they're doing and let them help you with your panic.
Good job. That's great advice. It's so good. It makes me excited hearing that the level of confidence you've taken from that's really, really good.
Ring Sam.
Yeah.
He's always holding his phone, so he'll answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job. Hey, well done, Sophie. Well done on a big weekend. Go and rest up, put your feet up. You've done very, very well, and look forward to catching up with you in a few weeks' time, just prior to race day, and see how you're getting on. But yeah, take care, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Look forward to having a chat in before the race.
Yeah, well done.
Later, Sos.
Yeah.
Cheers, Soph.
And not only in a guided, like Sophie talks about, finding someone to help you go down the river, obviously finding some like-minded people to run over Goats Pass and things. But something else, Richard, that actually you've been doing a lot of, and Team CP have as well, is through the Wednesday night roadies that we run here in Christchurch. And specifically now we're in this 4-week period, which we're focusing on a coast to coast, and trying to, if you are out there and you haven't done a lot of bunch riding, now is a really, really good time, because it's going to happen, to come and learn some bunch riding skills with CP.
Yeah, we had a great group last week, Wednesdays and Sundays. If you're passing through town, if you turn up prior to race day, just drop us a line and feel free to join in. But the more times you can practice that stuff, the better you get. And therefore, again, that's just one less stress that you have to worry about on race day. I can kind of just go and enjoy that element as well. And to be honest, between you and I, actually, the cycling can be the most dangerous part of the whole event. So it's really important that you do spend some time riding with others, and it can actually become the most enjoyable bit of the whole lot as well. But often it's sort of put to the side because actually it's not very much.
Well, to be fair, there's probably more unknowns in your race while in a bunch than there are anywhere else on the course.
Right. There's a bit of a secret language under there, isn't there?
There is, and you've just got so many people around you that you don't know. You know, we know when we ride in a bunch, we trust each other and we can ride on each other's wheel and know that life's going to be good. And you do that with the people you know. You're now in a bunch of people that most likely you've never met before. You have no idea of their riding skill or whatever, and now you're trying to get along at 40, 45k an hour, whatever you're doing. And there's a lot of unknowns are going to happen in that bunch. And, you know, at CP, obviously we bring everyone together. We do a bit of rotating, a bit of cycling. We try and mix it up. If I'm there, I try and get a bit boisterous and see if we can't make a bit of action happen there. But that's the reality of what's going to happen on race day.
Yeah, it really is. So come and learn that. Come and wherever you are, make sure that you do spend some time there, and make the most of that element of the coast to coast. It's still a third of the race, but it's just breaking up into 3 bits.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Was that us? Episode 4?
I think it just about is. I've got a couple of tips actually. I might just want to finish off with.
Well, you've got tips.
Just some things I wrote down like I'd like to share. Is that okay?
Look, mate, the floor is yours. I'll sit back.
Okay, yeah. Just so we've talked about this already, but simulation. So simulate the race sometime soon. So, like Sophie said, gives you some confidence that you can do it. And it gives a chance, like we talked in the last podcast, about nutrition and pacing and all those sorts of things. So you've got an idea of how that's going to go for you. So I'd say that's number one. Like we talked about with Sam, freshness. I think that's super key, and starting to think about that and dialing things back. Don't do it if you are tired, etc. And I like to also think about just training with a smile on your face. If you're not, it's not training to train anymore. It's training to race. Or if you don't think of it as a race, for the event. So you can go and line up in one piece and feeling good. So be fresh and just don't overdo it. Is that sort of part of that as well? I guess the other thing, as Sam mentioned, there's lots of things that can happen in this race. Being organized is probably my third tip. Start actually getting some gear out. Don't leave that to the last week. So get the spare room, just start putting some stuff in it. If you're using your gear, just sort of put it back in there, create some lists, make a list on your phone of just jobs you need to do. You don't want to be doing those last minute jobs in the last minute of the last week. If you know you can do them now, you will have last minute jobs that you don't know of yet. So just take some time to start getting organized, and that will make your last few days leading into the coast to coast more relaxing. You'll perform better because you've slept better and you're not dashing around like a maniac. So yeah, that's number 3. Book your bike in. You can do that now for a service and also the bike check. So it's always good to just make sure your bike's going to be going well. So that's all part of that getting organized stuff.
And don't be afraid. You've spent a lot of money to get to here where you are now. You've paid a lot of money for an entry. You've probably bought some equipment. You spent a lot of money on travel training and all those sort of things. It's not a lot of cost to put a new set of tires on your bike, because the last thing you want is a puncher. Put some new tubes and new tires on before the race, a new chain if you need it. Take away all those things that could go wrong.
That's right. And Matt Sherwood, who's a constant sort of looking after us, has just said, read the handbook.
Hey, I heard a rumor. Is it true that I heard that the handbook is going to be available via audio book voiced by Matt Sherwood?
Is that right?
Is that a true story or not?
Well, maybe we should start a petition. Yeah, but read the handbook, print it out, because that's obviously got all the key things that you need there to know about the race. Make sure your support crew understand that as well, and make sure that they're lined up and getting excited about the race, because it's time to start getting excited about this thing.
And just reiterating what you said, do it with a smile, enjoy it. It's at the end of the day, it's all about having some fun. Just enjoy it.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, it's been a good podcast. It's been really interesting to chat to two different ends of the spectrum tonight, hasn't it? So Sophie, so good that she managed to get down that river in one place with a big smile on her face and enjoyed the mountain run. even though the last bit didn't quite exactly go to plan.
Yeah, and for Sam, having Sam on, he's going to wear that number 1 bib this year. Again, it just goes to show the community of the Kathmandu Coast to Coast and how people are willing to share and be a part, and it's great to have people like him on board.
And so good across the weekend. I have to also say that there were so many people out there doing it, and lots of banter going on, which was fantastic. So yeah, cool to get across that mountain run, cool to get down the river and just suss out what it's like. But then also, if you're not able to get across the course, it'll be different tomorrow and it'll be different the next day. So you don't need to know word for word exactly how to do it. You need to keep your eyes up and sort of play it as you see it. I think that's super important for race day. So look after yourselves, have some fun out there.
And tune in a few weeks' time for our last one before the race, because there's been a few questions already out there, and there is every time. We will cover off some support crew stuff next.
We certainly will.
Next episodes, we'll cover some transition and some support crew stuff. That really important thing, and we enjoy talking about that stuff too. So, once again, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Team CP. Of course, a big thank you to Kathmandu and the Coast to Coast for having us. Thank you all for joining in, and see you next time.
It's the best Kiwi event in New Zealand, this.
Crossing New Zealand in 1 or 2 days.
Why do I do it? Because I love it.
3, 2, 1.